All right, Natalie. So last time we talked, we started off with where you were from, and I know you talked about living in Delwood before you moved to the Florissant area. So I was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit more about what happened in Delwood before you moved.
Sure. Well, I grew up there till I was, I guess, 10 is when we moved. And I loved our little house, and my brother and my sister were there with me, at least for a little while. And then my brother went away to college. But we, uh, I always felt like it was safe, and like I loved the neighborhood and everything because, it was the only thing I knew at the time. But as I started to get older, things were changing. We started hearing gunshots at night. We started having like a lot more crime. We had a couple cars stolen, just things that you don't want to have to be like living around and everything. And I guess it was weird experiencing that because it was just kind of like that first place that like you had a sense of security, and it wasn't, it was kind of seemingly like crashing down in front of you. So it was kind of weird to see and to feel like I couldn't be outside after dark after a certain time by myself. And then I went from that to I couldn't even be like playing in the backyard unless my mom was home and like had an eye on me. And I know a lot of people have it worse, but it was definitely like it was interesting seeing it progress, and especially right about the time we moved, it was just definitely time to go. And the neighborhood, unfortunately, is just completely like, deteriorating now, and it's just slowly going downhill. So it was good that we moved when we did to Florissant. So,
How much of the danger do you think was? Um, how much do you think you saw and just kind of learned that way by what you saw, and how much do you think your parents helped you like understand what was going on? Like, did they let you in on, the stuff that was going on in your neighborhood, or did they try to shelter you from it?
They definitely didn't try too hard to shelter us. And I mean, for our own good, they weren't trying to make us scared, but they were worried about our safety, and they made sure we knew what was going on. And I mean, I like to think I grew up fast in a way that I knew what was going on in my surroundings. And I guess, yeah, they did a good job of trying to make us still feel like we had a home, and because we did, and we were grateful for that. But that it was definitely time to make a change and everything.
So what was it exactly that made you guys for sure decide, like, okay, we need to get out of here?
I knew that one thing is that as their kids were getting a little older, I am the youngest, but we were, needing a little bit more space. And my sister and I shared a room, so on top of the fact that the area was changing, they wanted to like build a house somewhere else and just kind of, make a move. But I guess just as more neighbors started to move away that they were friends with, and that we, got along with and everything, um, and just as it became just scarier and scarier, really, to be in that area. It's when they really decided we should just, make a move because it'll be better. So,
sounds like it definitely would have been scary as a kid to have to worry about that kind of thing. As a 10-year-old, just I didn't really even know what a gun was. So.
Right, and it's kind of sad because I hate when people kind of just put that label in St. Louis about being that kind of place, because it's really only just certain parts of it. And so I guess it was sad to have a place that I felt, like I said earlier, was so safe just slowly change before my eyes, but it happens.
Yeah. Okay, so you said your brother went out to college pretty early on in that. How do you think the life in Delwood, having to move to Florissant, affected just the relationship between your parents, first of all?
Well, since my two siblings are so much older than me, 6 years older, and then 12 years my brother. Really, before he went away to college, and when he did, and as we got older, and my sister went away to school as well, and she stayed at home for school, but she was still, busy a lot of the time. I just took pretty much all of their, like, burdens, I should say, all of their problems, all of their issues on myself, because I felt like I was the only one who could. Even when my sister and my brother were present, it was still on me because they just kind of could turn away from it, but like it affected me so greatly, and I don't know why. I just did from when I was 4 up until right now. So it kind of just started when I felt like I was a little bit more on my own. Um, that I just took more notice of every fight that we're having, and I felt like this responsibility start to grow.
Did you feel like you ever had your sister to rely on for any of that responsibility, or?
Definitely. I mean, both of them, honestly. Just the unfortunate thing with my brother and my sister is I get along with them so well, and I'm really grateful for that. But if I could have changed something, it would have been them intervening more. Like I was, even when I was a little tiny girl, like I was the one like coming in, like storming in when my parents were fighting and telling them to stop, and trying to handle it in like a mature way that like I'm not the counselor, you know, and yet I always felt like I had to be. And so I guess as far as my siblings go, like they definitely would listen when I would break down finally and say like, don't you guys see this? Doesn't this bother you? Like blah blah blah. And they just kind of would brush it away though and say like, you know, like it's not our place. And maybe they're right, but I know that there are so many instances where I feel like had I not intervened, who knows what could have happened. And so I guess it was for a reason, but it is hard because I feel like they kept their distance and I didn't. So
Interesting. I wonder why you felt that obligation so much stronger.
Yeah, it was almost like I just inherently felt like I had to be the one to try to be the peacemaker or whatever. And I don't know, maybe it's some weird way that like, you know, I was meant to do social work. I was meant to try to whatever, but I guess, yeah, they just didn't feel that way. And they're both loving siblings and everything else, like I said, and they definitely provided like emotional support, but that was it. So.
Okay. I guess also I wanted to ask how you think your siblings interact with your parents in comparison to how you do, I guess, just you guys' separate relationships.
Well, we're all close with our parents in the sense that they do support us and we communicate and whatnot, but I've had the rockiest of relationships. My brother, I remember maybe once hearing him like argue with my parents before he like went off to school, and you know, him not like he has his own life now and everything, of course. And my sister, she's had maybe like 5, like I can count on one hand, like times I remember her having issues with my parents. But my mom and I are the ones who have just always struggled. And to this day, it's finally starting to get better because I know me being away at school helps. But it's just the emotional and physical abuse that she put me through for so many years, predominantly in high school and everything. Like, it shaped in a negative way like how our relationship was, and it was just very different from theirs. And I just kind of didn't know why me? Like I tried to be a good kid. I tried to do things I was supposed to do, and it just like wasn't enough. And it was just there's all these attacks personally, like very like just very personal attacks that she would do, whether it was on my weight or the way I just pretty much anything I did, honestly. Like it would start with little things like weight but then it would just be I would leave where I was in my house and go to another room, and she'd be like, where are you going? Like she's just super controlling and super like dominant, and it became really scary. And so I guess it was weird that I would still work to intervene when my parents weren't getting along, even when I wasn't getting along with them either.
Yeah.
And so
you talked about you know, not wanting them to get a divorce and telling them as a kid that they either need to decide, you know, to make the decision to stay together or break it off. And I was wondering if you ever had any, you know, regrets that you didn't push them further into splitting up, or if you think they can work it out and they are happy still.
I think as much as I don't want to admit it, when I was like, you know, in middle school probably, that's the last thing I ever would have wanted to imagine was my parents splitting up.
Mm-hmm. anybody really.
Yeah, they really, really don't. And then I know realistically, though, pretty much all throughout high school and even to this day, that if it had to get to that point, um, it wouldn't break me. It would just I just know like that. I'm slowly learning like their problems are their problems. I literally cannot fix all of them for them. I can't. I can try to help, and when my gut feeling kicks in, I feel like I have to try to talk to them and everything. Then I do, but I guess yeah, I had to grow into learning that it's okay that sometimes that has to happen with people. I just didn't want it to happen to them, and I think now the only worries I would have had realistically after I'd get over like the initial sadness of that is like just financially they'd be in a really messed up place and all kinds of things that would change dramatically when a family is broken up. So
Right.
I guess yeah.
I think it's good you can kind of channel your helping energies into your social work.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a good choice for you, especially with what we said about how you always were the one that you wanted to be the mediator.
Yeah.
So when you do get done with social work, what do you want to do, or what do you see yourself?
I definitely don't have like this picture perfect place already in my mind. I'm still trying to explore. I know I've thrown out like a school or a hospital or wherever it might be, but I do know for sure I do want to be more one-on-one. I want to be on the clinical end, and I don't know a lot about like younger children, but I even reflecting back on my own adolescence and then into high school and then young adulthood, that's such a prime time where there's I feel like preventative things that I could teach people or work with them through, and then there's coping mechanisms, and then there's how are they going to move forward and then deal with things they've gone through. So I don't know. I guess I really want to do just something on the clinical end, but I feel like where I've gotten to up to now has prepared me. So I'm looking forward to see where it takes me.
Great. Yeah, I think next time we can talk about ways to get there and things to make it easier on you when we are trying to get to that final goal.
Okay. Yay! I just had a little tiny heart attack.
Yeah.